Well, right now, of course, we know that the border, we have it on the screen there, border arrests have skyrocketed, nearly 330,000 in the month of May. And now officials are declaring a full-blown emergency. Joining me now, Border Commerce and Secretary Council President Nelson Balido. Nelson, let's talk about the economics of this, because the commerce part of your title we don't always lean on. I want to lean on that right now because, you know, a lot of people are vocalizing just how anxious they are. It's a different relationship that we have with Mexico and the use of tariffs than the relationship we have with China.
That's exactly right. And good afternoon, Charles. You know, the Mexican economy is tied to the U.S. economy and vice versa. You know, what we're doing here in North America is really competing against China and India and Europe. So having this economy is certainly very strong. The tariffs is something that obviously President Trump is trying to do everything he possibly can. You know, I've been telling the chambers of commerce, all the newspapers, all the naysayers about this tariff is, why don't they pick up the phone and be so adamant to ask their member of Congress to do something to stop this asylum problem, this invasion that's happening on our border, and we're done with it. We don't need a 5%. You know, I just came back from Mexico literally last night again. I was out as an international observer in some of their elections, state elections across the border, and I just got together with the governor of Tamaulipas, which I've talked about him before. He is willing to help, and we've talked to folks from members of Congress on the borders. They're willing to do a lot of things. It's the federal government that's putting every stop to this thing on the Mexican side. And hopefully these meetings that they're having this week will solve some of these issues.
Well, earlier in the week, there were reports of apprehensions in Mexico up 300% from January. So maybe that was a knee-jerk response. I don't think the administration is going to react to that. They'll probably think they're being placated or played, for a shorter version of that word. But I'm glad you mentioned the Chamber of Commerce and others, because they're looking at the business aspect of this, the human toll aspect of this. In May, 11,500 unaccompanied alien children, 84,500 family units. That's up from 58,000 a month before. These numbers are unprecedented numbers, and this is the human toll, the humanitarian toll that should be driving solutions from everyone.
It's what I've said before. This is an open season for the world to come to the United States and go around our immigration laws that we have respected for so long. Because we're having people from the Congo, China, Burma, Venezuela, Cuba. I mean, you name it. It's not just our traditional illegal immigration. It's everything. But I'll tell you, those border cities that are most affected by this, there's people being released in these cities because we can't no longer, the Border Patrol and Customs can no longer house all these people. There is a full-blown emergency, absolutely, and Congress can fix that immediately if they act.
Nelson, you alluded to the fact that the Mexican government, not the local governments and the governors that you speak to, but their federal government there has been the one that's been resistant. Is it because of the influence of the drug cartels and things like that? Why are they so resistant?
I tell you, I think what you have is this is a big business. It's easier now and more lucrative to smuggle humans than drugs on this border. The cartels have a huge influence in Mexico and Central America. Absolutely. The money is good for some of these people, and unfortunately, they succumb to it. I'll tell you, at $5,000 to $7,000 a head, all we're doing by our inaction is feeding the beast, or feeding these cartel members. Because again, if the idea is to try to curtail their strength, and all we do is continue to not take action, and they are charging these poor immigrants to cross the border because no one crosses for free, all we're doing is giving them more power.
Right. Nelson Balido, thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Charles.